Hello, I'm Mr. Canzaneri, and welcome to Banned Books season. Ms. Laverty asked some of us to read, and I'm going to read an excerpt for you from The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway. It's one of my favorite novels. It's Hemingway's first novel, written in the mid-1920s. It deals with a bunch of American expatriates in Europe post-World War I who spend their time traveling around Europe drinking and kind of wasting their time trying to forget the shock of World War I. And so the book has been banned because the characters seem to lack values. They don't really believe in God. They drink a lot. It's also been challenged because one of the characters is Jewish and he is ostracized from the rest of his group for several reasons. One, because of his religion. So those are the two big reasons why it's been challenged. The book is also famous for the scene of the running of the bulls in Pamplona, Spain, the Feast of San Fermin, which is in early July. Hemingway made that running of the bulls, which is very famous today, famous in this book. So in this one particular scene, the American goes with his friends to Spain, and they talk about being aficionados, which means having a certain kind of passion. And the main character has a passion for the bullfights. And so I love the way this particular passion is described. Your friend, is he aficionado too? Montoya smiled at Bill. Yes, he came all the way from New York to see the San Fermins. Yes? Montoya politely disbelieved, but he's not aficionado like you. He put his hand on my shoulder again, embarrassedly. Yes, I said, he's a real aficionado, but he's not aficionado like you are. Afición means passion. An aficionado is one who is passionate about the bullfights. All the good bullfighters stayed at Montoya's hotel. That is, those with afición stayed there. The commercial bullfighters stayed once, perhaps, and then did not come back. The good ones came each year. In Montoya's room were their photographs. The photographs were dedicated to Juanito Montoya, or to his sister. The photographs of bullfighters Montoya had really believed in were framed. Photographs of bullfighters who had been without afición, Montoya kept in a drawer of his desk. They often had the most flattering inscriptions, but they did not mean anything. One day Montoya took them all out and dropped them in the wastebasket. He did not want them around. We often talked about bulls and bullfighters. I had stopped at the Montoya for several years. We never talked for very long at a time. It was simply the pleasure of discovering what we each felt. Men would come in from distant towns and before they left Pamplona stop and talk for a few minutes with Montoya about bulls. These men were aficionados. Those who were aficionados could always get rooms even when the hotel was full. Montoya introduced me to some of them. They were always very polite at first, and it amused them very much that I should be an American. Somehow it was taken for granted that an American could not have afición. He might simulate it or confuse it with excitement, but he could not really have it. When they saw that I had afición and there was no password, no set questions that could bring it out, rather it was a sort of spiritual oral examination with the questions always a little on the defensive and never apparent. There was the same embarrassed putting the hand on the shoulder or a buen hombre, but nearly always there was the actual touching. It seemed as though they wanted to touch you to make it certain. Thank you.